Apex is coming up on being 5 years old, so here are 20 facts that only Apex veterans will know. When Apex Legends first released, they only had 8 legends: Bloodhound, Gibraltar, Lifeline, Pathfinder, Wraith, Bangalore, Caustic, and Mirage. However, Caustic and Mirage were not actually unlocked. You needed to get either Apex coins or legend tokens to then unlock them. Now, as of the making of this video, Apex has over 24 legends in the game. Wraith's tactical used to look a lot different. She had an instantaneous phase, but it didn't last nearly as long, meaning you couldn't really go as far in her phase, but it was pretty OP when it was a thing. In the early seasons of Apex, there was some pretty intense muzzle flash. I know people still complain today about visual clutter, especially from certain weapons. Yeah, we're looking at you, L-Star and Triple Take. But for the broad majority of weapons, they are much better in terms of all of the visual clutter that used to be there in the game. Kings Canyon has had 6 different iterations of the map, from when it first came out upon Apex's release to now present day. Season 14, which was in August of 2022, was the last time Kings Canyon got updated, and this is when Vantage released. Before Pathfinder's Fight Night on Olympus was released, there used to just be a huge area of shipping containers that was actually inspired by one of the Call of Duty maps. There was also a very long zip line that brought you from there to Turbine, and it was one of those zip lines that if you dropped, well, you'd fall off the map. If you're old enough to remember the original COD 4, Modern Warfare, and Modern Warfare 2, and you enjoy Apex, then you'll be pleased to know that a ton of the devs who worked on those games eventually broke away from Activision and started Respawn Entertainment, which would obviously then go on to make Apex Legends. I didn't know this at the time of when I started Apex, but it made a lot of sense when I started playing the game because I really loved those 2 older Call of Duties. Before Season 4 launched, Apex played a joke on all of the leakers who were data mining the upcoming things that could come to the game in Season 4. They put a fake legend into the files named Forge, created fake abilities for him, and even put him in the trailer and in-game teasers. Later on, Revenant would come and kill him during a trailer, and at the time it really surprised everyone. They haven't done anything like this since then though. For the first few seasons, Apex only had trios and ranked for its game modes. It wasn't until Season 3 that they released a Valentine's LTM where duos was introduced, and then I don't think it came permanently until Season 4. Nearly a year ago today, Apex released one of their most controversial collection events. They recolored a previous Battle Pass reactive skin from Season 3 and tried to sell it as the mythic item, aka the heirloom, for that event. This was met with a ton of backlash, and they ultimately ended up keeping it in the game, but publicly mentioned that they probably would never do it again, as they heard a lot of negative feedback from the community. However, 1 year later, they are selling a Deathbox skin as the mythical item, which is part of this Final Fantasy collab, and this event is set to cost $360 for all of the packs. Yeah. When Fuse first launched in Season 8, he only had 1 knuckle cluster, and it actually took up less area than it does today. He also could not toggle his passive arm on or off, and he was not very strong upon release. Apex used to reward players who reached certain ranks with dive trails. However, as of a couple seasons ago, they have flat out removed them, except for the Season 2 and Season 3 dive trails that were grandfathered into the game that they should be able to keep forever. These are only Diamond and Predator because it was before Master's rank was ever a thing, but as of recently, they have started adding dive trails to some of these legend mythic skins. Not sure how long this will be here to stay, but it is something that has rubbed players the wrong way. Now, before I continue, I want to ask you guys, have you ever felt burnt out with what you're currently doing? Or maybe you're still trying to figure out exactly what you want to do with your life? Well, I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, Southern New Hampshire University. More particularly, they have an online cybersecurity program, and with cyber attacks becoming the new modern age weapon, there's becoming a growing need to combat these types of attacks. SNHU's program will teach you how to defend against cyber attacks and protect companies' data. You'll get hands-on experience in cyber labs, learn about network security, incident responses, and investigations, along with much, much more. SNHU is also an accredited nonprofit university and has a very affordable tuition. There's truly no better time to start a career in cybersecurity, as jobs in the industry are expected to grow by 35% by only 2031. So go to snhu.edu/mangos to see if you qualify for SNHU's cybersecurity program. You might be eligible for financial aid or have previous college credits that could fast-track your degree at SNHU. Thanks again to SNHU for sponsoring this video. In the earlier seasons, Apex had a history of teasing the next legend that was coming by having some really interesting in-game features. In Season 4, before Loba was released, there were clips of a wolf running in Harvester. Harvester. And at the time, a lot of people were going crazy over this because nobody could really confirm if this was real or not. Seems like after review, this is probably more like a wraith running, but there were notable wolf sounds being heard in Harvester during Season 4 as well. You can also see Loba make her entrance during the lobby screen. Now, from what I remember, this was probably the most low-key out of all of the teasers, but as the seasons progressed, they got more dynamic, because in Season 5, Capital City had spray paint all over the buildings, with different slogans written on them, and even a picture of Blisk. But it went a step further with a weapon hop-up that could be equipped to the Spitfire, which allowed for a faster reload speed, and when you shot it, had spray-painted bullets. And this would come to be the teaser for Rampart. In Season 6, Apex had several different areas around World's Edge, which were able to be activated with a key card that you would find throughout the map, and once you activated them, gravity lifts would pop out. This was done in Capital City, and I also remember them being done in the old train yard POI. And then as well in Season 7, there would be bombs that would be dropped into the map, but they could be only set off with gunfire. And this was very similar to the depiction of Fuse's ultimate ability, because once you shot it, basically a ring of fire would come out. Now, all of these things were really cool interactive gameplay features that I kind of wish they would bring back. Oh, also in Season 6, where launch site is currently on World's Edge, there used to be a huge ship there. And then in the Season 7 trailer, it shows all of the legends taking off in that ship and ending up in Olympus. In Season 7, when they released Horizon and the new map Olympus, it's pretty crazy to think about how different Horizon worked back then. A lot of players have been frustrated with Horizon for the past year or so, but in Season 7, her gravity lift lasted longer, the cooldown was shorter, she could sit on top of it and heal or shoot down at enemies with no accuracy penalty, her black hole was on a much shorter cooldown as well. This also worked through doors, walls, etc., and couldn't be destroyed by teammates or enemy grenades. Needless to say, in Season 7, Horizon was very overpowered. Speaking of OP legends on release, in Season 10 when Seer released, well, that was a very controversial time. They actually ended up having to hut patch Seer about a week or two into the season, which was probably a first for Apex. His tactical could do like 20 different things. It could stun you, it could slow you, it dealt damage, it canceled your heal, it canceled abilities, it canceled revives. I could go on. But another crazy thing was that his heartbeat sensor was instantaneous and he could walk at the same pace as having a gun out with his hands up and constantly read the surroundings with this passive. They had to quickly nerf that as well. Oh, and during that era, Valkyrie was released in Season 9, and she also released much stronger than what she is today. Her ultimate could go higher in the air, she could twirl while taking off, she would glitch out occasionally, which they had since patched. Her passive had way more jet fuel, her tactical covered more space, dealt a little bit more damage. I mean, a lot of these legends from Horizon, Valkyrie, and Seer came out very strong, and all had to be subsequently nerfed, sometimes taking up to well over a year to finally bring that legend down to where Apex actually wants them to be. During the first few seasons, knockdown shields not only looked much differently, but they functioned much differently. They were not as big, so players weren't able to play them as cover if their teammate went down and they wanted to get behind their knockdown. It was much easier to thirst enemies through the knockdown and around the knockdown, and it wasn't until Season 4 where I believe they increased the knockdown shield size. It's basically stayed the same ever since then. Now, speaking of tactics like that, if you're interested in improving your game sense, please be sure to check out this next video right here. Thanks for watching. Peace.